Hi, welcome to Michelle's Kitchen. I'm Michelle Babb, and today we're going to work on a really simple recipe for halibut with a mango salsa as the topping. So today we have relatively few ingredients, but when you combine them together they're going to be delicious. So we're starting with the halibut, and then for the salsa, for the topping, we're going to move along to some fresh mango, a little bit of lime juice, some cilantro, a little bit of ginger, and some minced shallots. And then we have some other kind of condiments, salt, pepper, olive oil that we will be working with too. So we're going to start with the egg, and the reason we're doing this, it actually has not much to do with the recipe, but it is something that keeps the parchment paper together really nicely. So we're going to be cooking the halibut in parchment paper, and it's one of my favorite ways to cook fish because it's not very messy, and it actually really steams the fish in a nice way, so it keeps the moisture in, so you don't end up with the dryness that you can sometimes get when you bake fish. So what we're doing is just simply separating the white from the yolk, because we just need the egg whites for this part of it, and it's going to kind of act as the glue for the parchment paper. So that's all there is to that. Ready? Okay, and then the next thing we'll do is just cut a nice big piece of parchment paper, and that's about how long I need it to be. I'm going to cut the piece like that, and then I'm actually folding it in half. And cutting it into what's similar to a heart shape. This might remind you of arts and crafts from grade school. All right, so now we have this nice piece of parchment paper, and we're going to just put the fish right in the middle of the parchment paper, slightly off to the side of the seam, of that middle seam. So today we're using halibut, and one of the reasons I really like to use halibut is because it's a nice, mild, white fish, and most people really like halibut. Even people who have trouble with the more kind of fishy tasting fish seem to do okay with halibut. Other fish that might work well in this dish would be cod. It's a nice, inexpensive white fish that works really well. You could use a red snapper or mackerel, or even salmon would work just fine. And the great thing about fish is it's high in B vitamins, it's got all kinds of great nutrients in it, really high in magnesium and selenium, and also high in vitamin E and omega-3 fatty acids, which is really important to get omega-3 fatty acids in our diet, and we just don't get enough of those as it is. Really important for heart health and disease prevention in general. So we've got our nice piece of halibut here, and then all we need to do, this is so simple, for seasoning, because this is such a great mild tasting fish, we're just going to sprinkle on some salt. I'm using a little bit of sea salt. I'm just going to sprinkle that on all over the fish, and then a little bit of pepper, fresh ground pepper right over the top here. And that's really all you need. Remember that we're going to be topping this off with a salsa in the end, so I like to just keep it really simple. So then what we're going to do is just take the egg whites that we prepared, use a basting brush, and just kind of brush around the sides of the parchment paper. And that is it. Nice and easy. And folding the parchment paper over the fish and kind of pulling the seam together. And then we're just folding that over. And again, the egg whites are just kind of act as the glue here. So we're going all the way around and folding over. And once you get that all folded in, you can just sort of twist the ends. And that's going to keep everything together. All right, so that's it. We've got our fish in our parchment paper. We're going to go ahead and put this in a pan, just any kind of a broiler pan will work just fine. And then this is going to go into the oven at 425 degrees for about 20 minutes. And it's important not to overcook fish. Again, we don't want it to get dried out. But having it in the parchment paper is a nice way to just allow it to steam itself and keep its natural juices in. All right, so our halibut is now in the oven, and that's going to take about 20 minutes to cook. So while that's preparing, we're going to go ahead and put our salsa together. So this is a nice kind of tropical salsa that has some mango and is offset and balanced really well with some shallots and some ginger. So we're going to start with a little bit of cilantro. And I realize that cilantro is a pretty polarizing flavor. People either love cilantro or they hate it. So if you have some cilantro haters in your family, you could use parsley instead of cilantro. That would work fine. So we just want to kind of cut off just the leaf parts of this, and we don't need a whole bunch of this. It has a pretty potent flavor, so I'm just looking for some of the nicer leaves to chop up here. And so then we're just going to chop up the cilantro. And you can kind of decide how much of this you want. In this recipe, I probably wouldn't use more than 1/4 cup of cilantro, just because I don't want it to overpower the salsa. Okay. So that's probably good. That's probably about 1/4 cup right there. So we'll start with that in our bowl. All right, and then we can go ahead and add the mangoes. And this time around, I used what's called a honey mango. And the honey mango, you can see, is a little bit smaller and shaped a little bit differently than what you've probably seen and what you know as the mangoes that you're probably used to using. But this is a really nice sweet mango, and again, it's a little bit smaller. When you go to choose the mangoes, you just want to make sure that they are kind of soft to the touch. And so go ahead and dump in, and I used just 1 honey mango for this recipe. And then on this little tray, we have our ginger and fresh shallots that are chopped really fine. So we're going to go ahead and add all of that in. And then we have our fresh lime, and we just need the juice of 1/2 a lime here. So just go ahead and work that in. So the salsa is going to be really high in vitamin C from both the lime and the mangoes. And mangoes also have a lot of vitamin A, so it's really nice, packed with antioxidants, really nice, healthy salsa. And then we're going to take some olive oil and just drizzle this in. If you want to measure, I would say that it's going to be about 2 to 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And then we're going to throw in a nice generous pinch of sea salt and put in a little bit of fresh ground pepper, not too much. We're just going to go ahead and stir all of this together. It's a really nice blend of colors, and it's going to be a really nice combination of flavors as well. So this is nice if you can make this ahead of time and just sort of let it sit in the refrigerator and let those flavors combine. That's a great way to go. Otherwise, it's fine to just make it up right while the fish is cooking and top the fish off with it. So our salsa is now ready to go. We just need to wait until the fish is done, and we'll pull that out of the oven. Okay, so we've just taken our halibut out of the oven, and the parchment paper has stayed nice and tightly wrapped here. So we just want to carefully start unrolling this, and you should be very careful because you can have steam come shooting out of here, and you don't want to get a steam burn. So be cautious when you open it. And you can see that this is just really perfectly cooked. It's nice and flaky. And when you look inside, it's no longer, it's opaque. So you don't see the clear pieces of fish, which is what you want. That's a good indicator that the fish is done. And still nice and juicy, as you can see, which is one of the benefits of cooking it in the parchment paper. Okay, so I'm going to actually pull this right off the skin. It comes off the skin really easily when it's cooked this way. So I'm going to pull it off the skin, transfer it right onto a plate here. It's a beautiful piece of fish. And then I'm just going to take my mango-lime salsa and just top the fish off with this. You can add a little extra juice, drizzle it over the fish, and look how beautiful that is. Nice summery dish. You could grill your fish and also use the mango-lime salsa, but the parchment paper is really fun to work with, so don't be afraid to give that a try at home. Thanks for joining me today in my kitchen. I'm Michelle Babb, and I'm making whole foods cooking easy, fun, and delicious.